Koshan Krishna, can you get my iPad? Somewhere. Ma Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Paskatyade Satarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Brahmadakacharya Asadhara Satushi Shiman, His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Haribol, Slava Zabrani Bhaktam, Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi. Om Aganatimanandasya Gananjana Salakaya, Taksura Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam, Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sakan Vitam Sha. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu, Akantas Namostude, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vanu Sudadevi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vanchagapa Dhruvyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patiranam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad-gita as it is, chapter 6, Sankhya Yoga, text number 16. Natyashatastu yogosti nachaikantamanashnataha nichaiti swapnashilasya jagato naiva charjana natyasnatashtu yogosti nachaikantamanashnataha nichaiti swapnashilasya jagato naiva charjana. ladies. Adyasatastu yogosti. Ajaitam ashnanashnataha. Achaiti swapna shilasya. Jagato naiva charjana. Na, never. Ati, too much. Ashnataha, a one who eats. Two, but. Yoga, linking with the Supreme. Asti, there is. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ekantam, overly. Anashnataha, abstaining from eating. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ati, too much. Swapna shilasya, of one who sleeps. Jagrataha, or one who keeps night watch too much. Too much. You can keep night watch, but don't do it too much. Na, not. Eva, ever. Cha, and. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals, because there is ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness, according to the Bhagavad-gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food, which is not offered first to Krishna, will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Punjate te tvagamapa ye pachant nat makaranat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure, who cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eats only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy, prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Datyashnatastu yogosti nachaikantam anashnata dachaitni swapna shilasya jagato naiva charjana. There's no possibility of one's becoming a yogi or Arjuna if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane nirvishesha shrinivari paskadyade sadharane. Regulation of eating is considered quite important in developing our higher consciousness. In the Nectar of Instruction, Sri Rupa Goswami has mentioned Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha jana sangas yamcha shadbir bhakti vinashati. That these are the 6 different activities which will spoil our development of bhakti. Now, of course, most people don't equate higher consciousness with eating. It's not a very clear topic. Even in religious circles, people, so-called religious people, or religious people, they don't necessarily take it very seriously. Although our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, when he talked to religious leaders, especially, either Christians or Mohammedans, he'd always mention that Lord Jesus Christ said in the Bible, "Thou shalt not kill," which has been misinterpreted, "Thou shalt not kill human beings." But that's not what it says. The idea that animals have no life is obviously not very, not obviously, but it's not very logical. What are the symptoms of life, for instance? That when someone's alive, they have consciousness. And Prabhupada would point out, what is the real difference between your family dog and a child who's 3 years old? Neither one of them acts as a mature human being, and therefore they generally treat, in most places where people even a little have some feeling towards animals, they treat their dog just like another member of the family. And as a matter of fact, sometimes the dog has more intelligence than the child does. Sometimes the dog protects the child from harm, but the child is too young to understand what he's doing. So why is it that the dog has consciousness, a soul, and that other animals don't? The main problem is that economically people have become dependent on animal slaughter. Because, for different reasons, in the age that we're living in, it's been manifested in a way that people have no idea what the aim of life is. And the people who have taken over, the leaders of society, their aim of life is misdirected. There's always a class of people in society whose aim of life is to become the laws of the creation, who don't accept or follow any kind of religious principle. They just make up their own religious principles, if they are so-called religious or not. And in Kali Yuga, that's been predicted as becoming prominent in Kali Yuga. In the 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, Parikshit Maharaj encounters a Shudra dressed as a king. Shudra means a lower class person in the mode of ignorance who doesn't understand anything about spiritual life, can't understand the difference between this body and the soul, and therefore they're called Shudras. Such a man was dressed as a king and was beating on a cow and a bull. And the cow was standing on one leg, and the bull was standing on one leg, I guess. And that symbolized that in this age that we're living in, the principles of religion, symbolized by the bull, will diminish. The principles of religion are truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, and austerity. beating on the cow was the end of austerity. What to speak of mercy. Now, why was a Shudra beating on a cow and bull? Because basically speaking, Parikshit Maharaj later on got cursed by Shringi. Because before Parikshit Maharaj, he stopped the Shudra from beating on the cow and the bull, and he said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to execute you if you perform such an irreligious act. So the Shudra, he surrendered, and his representation of Kali, and he asked for a place to live. So Parikshit Maharaj said, you can live in any place where there's no sinful activities. But Kali said, well, there are no places while you're reigning of such, you have to give me some place where I can actually live. So Parikshit Maharaj said, you can live in a place where they store gold, where they hoard gold. Because if there's gold in this age, then people have the means for all kinds of sinful activity. Because now they've replaced gold with paper money. People have become so fooled. They think a piece of paper that they print up, and they print up a lot of them, has some value. So people have been tricked into actually thinking that paper money has some value because they've manufactured things in such masses, like iPhones and all these other things, these gadgets that they've created, that people have become, they're like toys for people. They become addicted to the toys. Playing video games and watching entertainment. They want to be entertained by sports, and principally they've turned all kinds of sense gratification into entertainment. They think drinking alcohol, taking intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, this is all entertainment. Because it's hard to believe that anyone has become supremely happy by such activities. But they've been advertised like that. And at the same time, the people who are more or less leading society, for the most part, they're not really trained up as leaders, spiritually speaking. They have education from universities, and in the universities, they train them up to become more or less persons whose interest in life is economic development. To gain as much money as possible, so they can enjoy their senses in unlimited ways as much as they can, unrestricted. So how did that all start? Well, once you kill the cow and the bull, then the next stage is, as I've explained before, you still have to eat. In previous civilizations, even 150 years ago, people had to farm in order to eat because they wanted to survive. You can't survive from a factory. Factories do not produce bread, nor does the milk come out of a carton in the store. Instead, people used to farm the land. And in order to farm the land, you needed some method. So the bull was used because it was very strong for transportation. The cows and the bulls were used for transportation. The cows and the bulls would get fertilizer. They plowed the land. And people had more or less a community economy. Everything was in the nearby community. Everything they needed. But once they killed the cow and the bull, then they had no means to plow the land, nor did they have the fertilizer anymore. So in order to do that, they had to manufacture a tractor. But tractors don't grow on trees. So you have to have a factory to manufacture the tractor. So to get the factory, you need raw materials. So you have to build machines that can get the raw materials so you can manufacture the tractor, so you can plow the land and get the food that the cow and the bull were producing. But in order to do that, you need petroleum and all kinds of other products. So then you need more machines to dig into the earth and get all these resources to power the machines that build the tractors, the harvesters, and then you need other machines that you have to build factories for that produce the trucks that transport the raw materials into the factories, more factories you have to build in order to manufacture the food in such a way as if we can transport it, because no one's growing anything. So they're all depending on some localized industry with huge tractors the size of buildings to plow the land. But unfortunately, the tractors, they compress the land. They're so heavy, kill all the natural living entities that live in the land, that fertilize the land. There's no more cow dung and bull dung to fertilize the land. So now you have to have artificial fertilizer. So then you need factories for that. Factories to manufacture it, factories to get the machines to get the raw materials to manufacture it. Then you need machines. In other words, endless machines. To produce the food that was easily gotten by the cow and the bull. And they call that progress. In the meantime, the air is polluted by the factories. The water is polluted by the factories. The food is substantial because the GMOs that they're producing and all the other chemicals, they destroy the natural plants. Then they have to put on insecticides, herbicides, and peoplecides. And therefore the food is, to some extent, it's poisonous. It's grown and picked out of season. It's harvested when it's not ripe in order to transport it to the factories, and then transport it to the sometimes to the supermarkets. It's filled with chemicals and preservatives. Then artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, chemicals, all kinds of chemicals. The air is polluted with the chemicals. The water is polluted with the chemicals. And we're making progress. God bless science. And then, of course, the oil, the petroleum, even the minerals that are utilized to manufacture some of the ingredients for that go into the factories, manufacture the machines, the raw materials are limited. Therefore, we need armies, collective armies, in order to go to other countries and convince them to give us donations of all their raw materials. And if they're not so generous, then we have to convince them in some way to be more generous with us. Or we just get rid of them and we just take whatever we want. All in the name is, we're God's people, we deserve it. And then the result is that there's too many people. So you got to get rid of the people because we can't grow enough food, useless eaters. So make so many plans to get rid of them. By wars, by modern medicine is one way of getting rid of people, shortening their lifespan. And then just gain hold of all the mass media and convince people that we're doing great. Our politicians love us. When they take when they tax us and take our money away, when they authorize unlimited use of deadly chemicals in our food and the water, it's because they love us. And you get trained children from the school that the aim of life is to have as much sex as possible with anything that moves. Eat anything you can, try anything. Bugs are great. Worms are far out. Anything that you don't like, you kill and eat. Or maybe you like it, that's why you kill and eat it. Except for your dog, of course. And the water, don't worry about the water. If you get cold, just light the water up. You know, in America, water out of the tap, sometimes it catches on fire because there's so many chemicals in it. So you have to be careful when you open the tap that there's no open light, because otherwise your water might catch on fire. But that's all right. It has some extra minerals in it. Anyhow, modern society is they have no idea about God, who God is, or the fact that, as it says here, anad bhavati bhutani parjana anasambhava jagna bhavati parjano jagna karma samudbhava. That all living entities, they subsist on food grains. That food is the most important thing. Imagine going to a party that's going to last for 5 days, and they don't serve any food or water, and you can't bring your own. How many people would attend the party? Not too many. So food is the base. Without food, no one can actually live. Actually, without fresh air and clean water, no one could live either. But it just takes a little bit longer to die, that's all. But without food, it's much more, or water, it's much more apparent, or air. It's really, we need these things. In any case, people have become so fooled, and they don't believe in God, so they don't realize that our desires in this material world, which cause us to fight with one another, are also caused by the fact that we're trying to dominate the resources of material nature in one way or another, and therefore we become envious that people have more resources than we have. And from our lust to dominate the material nature comes greed, and from greed comes anger, and from anger comes illusion. And therefore we forget how to be civilized human beings, and we lose our intelligence, and we act like an animal. Therefore, when we have that carrot on our plate, the first thing we want to do is devour it as it was ours. So that very desire to devour it is kind of like an animalistic desire. There's no gratitude that God has given it to us. Previously, people used to offer prayers before they ate with some feeling of gratitude that this is that God has given to us these resources, and we should be grateful. No sense of God consciousness. They think that they're the laws of material nature, and especially with food, they just devour it like an animal. And then therefore their lust to desire to enjoy the material nature increases. And there's no, when you try to serve lust, there's no end to it. It simply increases. And then you become greedy, and then you eat too much. And then when you eat too much, then everyone looks beautiful. You sleep too much, you dream too much, and everyone looks beautiful. Man, woman, animal, anything looks beautiful. You fall in love with and want to enjoy. And then you go, more or less, you become angry, frustrated, you can't enjoy, and then you take it out on anything that walks by. That's why people are more or less going, at least, maybe in Slovenia it's better, it's not so obvious. But in other countries, you read about America, they're going completely crazy. A certain section. 72 different designations for people. There's no longer any men. They're trying to fight back that there's men and women. No, there's men, women. There's men who sometimes think they're women, and women who think they're men, and sometimes whatever. Some people go crazy. And when they did an interview at the University of Oregon, as I mentioned before, they asked, one man went up, was interviewing them, he's more or less, a little less than 2 meters, like. And he was asking the students, he said, actually, he was an American man, white American man, he was saying, actually, I'm a Chinese woman. I'm 2.5 meters high, and I'm a basketball player. Now, would you believe me if I told you that? And many of the students say, yeah, of course, if you feel like you're a 2.5 meter Chinese woman basketball player, then of course we'll believe you. And not only that, but now you can buy a dog suit for $10,000. They sell them. And there are people who get into the dog suit and they go to the park and they play with the dogs in the park because they think they're a dog. They want to be a dog. So that's where human society is coming to. Not everyone yet, but this is a trend. And these people are accepted as normal, rational human beings. And if you protest against it, then you'll get fired from your job, especially in a university or in other places that you consider to be discriminating. Anyhow, we can go into the whole thing. But the point is, Krishna says, Jagna Shishtasno Shanto Mujante Sarvakil Vishai Bhujante Te Tvagam Papam Ye Prajatnyam Karana. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sin because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for sense enjoyment, they verily eat only sin. So that's the result. People may deny it, but that's actually what happens. Any questions or comments? Actually, I have to go, so I'm going to stop the class early. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.